Twin Jades of Jiangdong. Extra Chapter 2. The snowy mountains stretched in an unbroken line. The mountain ridge and the vast plains were the same silvery white. The houses to the sides of the road had marble balustrades and jade railings, while the iced-over telephone poles flashed by outside the windows of the car. The sunlight came pouring down, so blindingly bright that they could not keep their eyes open. Zhou Yu was wearing his sunglasses as he leaned against the window, watching the scenery outside. Sun Sa was tearing open a bag of snacks. Zhou Yu was in the front seat listening to music as he drove, while Lu Bu sat to his side, playing on his PSP. Sun Sa accidentally made his snacks do a fairy scattering flowers, landing all over Lu Bu's head. "Hey!" Lu Bu raged. "Shh, Sun Sa hurriedly pointed at Zhou Yu. "He's sleeping, don't wake him." Zhou Yu took off his sunglasses and looked at Sun Sa. "Oh, he's not sleeping, ha ha ha," Sun Sa said. Lu Bu roared angrily, "Sleeping my ass." Lu Bu leaned over from the front row and wrestled with Sun Sa. Zhao Yun said loudly, "I'm driving. Don't fight." Lu Bu and Sun Sa were in the middle of a pitched battle, and Zhao Yun hurried over to separate them. Without even lifting his head, Lu Bu shouted, "Zhou Yu, you're blocking me from hitting him." Zhou Yu. Winter break was approaching and many beach activities were on temporary hold. The campus was also echoingly empty during the break. His mother had gone out of the country to visit relatives, so Zhou Yu had nowhere to go for the New Year's holiday. Sun Sa wanted to bring Zhou Yu home, but Zhou Yu was not willing to go. Finally, Sun Sa and Lu Bu got together and figured that they might as well bring along their teammates that weren't going home to the north to go skiing and soaking in the hot springs. They first took a flight that was over 3 hours long. Afterwards, they had to rent a car. They had been driving for 8 hours, and in that time, Zhou Yu's lifespan had been shortened by half. However, he had spent his childhood mostly in the warm south, so when he saw the snow falling, he still felt a kind of awe. "Sleep for a while," Sun Sa added. Zhou Yu was a little carsick. The roads here were really too difficult to traverse. Thankfully, Zhao Yun's driving skills were very good, so he hadn't ended up throwing up. "My hometown was in the north," Zhao Yun said. "Even more north of here. As soon as winter came, it would be -25 degrees outside. It's very pretty." Zhou Yu's eyes spun. This was already a little more than he could handle. "A northerner," Lu Bu said, chuckling, as he patted Zhao Yun's shoulder, "coming to the south to serve, interesting." Zhao Yun dismissed that with a laugh. He turned the music up a little higher and the cross-country vehicle sent up a flurry of snow as it sped along. However, 2 hours later, the sky gradually darkened and a bloody red setting sun shone over the snowy fields. Lu Bu's expression was one of gloom as he said, "Your hometown was in the north, huh?" Sorry. Zhao Yun and Sun Sa tried to figure out where they were from the GPS. "I feel like we headed the wrong direction after we took that road just now." Sun Sa was consulting the map. Zhao Yun replied, "There was no mistake. I'm very sure that it was this direction." Zhou Yu stood in front of the fields of snow. All of a sudden, he felt a very strong impulse. He wanted to leap into this vast, white plain. 3 seconds later, Sun Sa charged out with a yoahu and threw himself forward onto the snow, leaving behind the imprint of a human in that snowy white ground. Zhou Yu thought to himself, "Weirdo." The snowball that Sun Sa had made suddenly flew towards him, covering Zhou Yu's head with snow. Zhou Yu and Sun Sa began to wrestle until finally, and as usual, Sun Sa ended up begging for mercy. The two of them hid behind the car and unceremoniously, Zhou Yu shoved him into the snow. Sun Sa patted the space by his side and said, "Come." Zhou Yu figured he might as well lie down too. Zhao Yun, who was still studying their route, shouted towards them, "Make sure you don't catch a cold." The two of them lay side by side on the snow, as the last light of the sun traveled across the mountains and the snowy plains, fading away above Zhou Yu's head. That smear of red light tinged the snow with a gorgeous light, as if they were sitting by the banks of a river, which was blazing with flames, or as if 1,000 colorful, flickering lanterns in a city were casting their light forth. "Hey," Sun Sa said, patting Zhou Yu's hand. "What you said last time, about past lives, what was that about?" "Nothing much," Zhou Yu said, unconcernedly. "I just have a lot of dreams intermittently, like a drama series on TV. Once this episode airs, there's the next one still." "Ah?" Sun Sa asked, surprised. "What kind of drama series?" "A brain-dead costume drama," Zhou Yu replied easily. "The kind that people often ridicule." As soon as Sun Sa heard that, he grew curious and he stuck himself to Zhou Yu and asked him to tell him all about it. Thankfully, Lu Bu shouted from out in front of the car, "Time to go. Get in the car." There were 4 guys and 1 car, and this time it was Sun Sa's turn to drive. The car's tank was full. However, night came earlier because it was winter in the north. Just as they had driven a few kilometers away, it was already fully dark. Zhou Yu had no choice but to sit in the front passenger seat, his phone on with the GPS running, to guide Sun Sa. "Do you really know how to?" Lu Bu asked. Yeah, Zhou Yu smiled as he scolded Sun Sa. "And here you were going, I can fix this." "Hey." Sun Sa grew greatly irritated by their comments and he said, "All of you, shut up. Trust in this young master's skills." Zhao Yun said, "Sun Sa's sense of direction is very good. Trusting him won't be a mistake." "We're a half an hour out," Sun Sa said, tossing a blanket to Lu Bu in the back. "You, sleep for a while." Lu Bu was 1.9 meters tall. He can only crammed into the car like a sardine in a can, unable to stretch out at all. He had no choice but to slump sideways and sleep with his head on Zhao Yun's thigh. In front, Zhou Yu began to grow confused. It was pitch black outside and Sun Sa was driving about blindly. When Lu Bu woke up, 2 hours had passed. "What time is it?" Lu Bu asked. "It still hasn't been half an hour, right?" Zhao Yun. Sun Sa's face was filled with black lines and he had no choice but to insist stubbornly, "We'll be there soon." "We'll be there my ass." Lu Bu roared. "Fuck off. I'll drive." Just as Lu Bu took the wheel, in less than 5 minutes, the car tire sank into a pothole, and everyone had to get off to push the car. As soon as night fell, the temperature plummeted, and the 3 of them sniffled as they shivered in the cold wind. Zhou Yu was inside the car, shifting gears, and he said, "Let me help you all by giving you a little joy." And saying this, he turned on the radio. Sun Sa sniffled, only to hear the weather report from the radio. "Tonight, a blizzard will cover much of the area. Please be prepared against the cold." The 3 people outside were so frightened by that their souls flew out of their bodies. Thankfully, the car started up. Lu Bu fell forwards in the snow, eating a mouthful of it. "Wait for me!" Lu Bu shouted. The car stopped, and Lu Bu slid into the car. Zhou Yu shifted gears and pressed down on the gas, making a turn on the little road, driving into the dark mountains. "Where are you driving to?" Sun Sa asked. "Talk less nonsense," Zhou Yu replied nonchalantly. The cross-country vehicle sped along on the road covered in specks of ice. The snow outside was falling harder and harder and Zhao Yun asked, "Why not just spend a night in the car? Turning on the heat and driving along in tandem will use up the gas too quickly," Zhou Yu said. "When you all were pushing the car just now, I saw a speck of light in the mountains there. There might be someone living there. What if it's the light of a star?" Sun Sa asked. "Then we'll spend the night hugging each other for warmth." Zhou Yu was torn between laughing and crying. Sun Sa replied, "This proposal's pretty good. Everyone." The wipers moved back and forth. Sun Sa wiped the front window, and he did see a spot of light in the distance. Everyone let out a breath, they were saved. A small building stood quietly at the foot of the mountain. It even had a courtyard in front of it. Outside the building was a telephone pole, and there was a light mounted up there. Zhou Yu stopped the car and said, "Let's stay here for the night." Before he could finish speaking, however, the light on the telephone fizzed a few times, before going out. It was pitch black around them. There wasn't even a single speck of light from within the building. The storm let out an angry call from behind them. The only light came from the car headlights, which were shining out on snowflakes as large as goose feathers. The world was silent and the three-story small building looked like a haunted house. The four of them pushed and shoved at each other and finally Zhao Yun went to knock on the door. "Is anyone here?" Zhao Yun asked. "Did you not eat?" Sun Sa asked. "Speak louder." You go." Zhao Yun gestured him forward. Sun Sa hurriedly ducked behind Zhou Yu. Zhao Yun knocked again, asking, "Is anyone there?" They didn't hear a dog barking. Zhao Yun continued, "No one? That shouldn't be the case, even the electric light was on just now." Lu Bu suggested, "Let's give up on this one and find another place." "There's only this one building in a 10-mile radius," Zhou Yu said. "If we don't stay here, then we'll have no choice but to sleep in a ditch." Lu Bu shouted loudly, "Is anyone there?" The door suddenly opened, revealing an aged, wizened face. The four of them were so frightened that they let out loud shouts at the same time. Sun Sa, who had originally been hiding behind Zhou Yu, quivered as he hurriedly pulled Zhou Yu behind himself to better protect him. It was an old man wearing a cotton-lined beanie, his hands stuck into his sleeves, his gaze listless. He took a few steps forward, passing by the four petrified people, coming to a stop in front of the telephone pole. Leisurely, he reached out a hand, and that hand that he lifted was quivering non-stop. "Everyone!" The fingers that the old man reached out would spasmed again and again. The four of them were so frightened by his odd actions that their souls left their bodies. Lu Bu indicated that the rest of them shouldn't panic, but he himself was backing up as he did so. Old sir," Zhao Yun said. The old man had his back to the four of them and he maintained that stiff, upright position. A whole minute later, he grabbed something in the air, and he tugged it downwards. There was a kika sound. Sun Sa and Lu Bu yelped at the same time. The old man pulled it again, and there was another kika. The light mounted high up on the telephone pole turned on again. That was the string for the light. Zhou Yu had been so frightened he had almost collapsed. The old man turned around and glared at them. "What? We'd like to put up here for the night," Zhao Yun said. The old man replied, "Then come in." With the light, their surroundings seemed to become a little more normal. Lu Bu went to park the car, while the other three followed the old man in. They saw that in the courtyard, there was a sign that had been taken down and it was surrounded by bricks and rubble. Zhao Yun grabbed a flashlight, sweeping it left and right, as he followed the old man into the backyard. The old man pushed open the door, revealing a pitch-black corridor. He asked, "How many? I need to check your IDs." Zhou Yu was a little freaked out by it and he felt a bit of regret. "Is there heating?" Sun Sa asked. "There's a boiler," the old man replied. "Wait for it to start up, ba." Sun Sa got the keys. They were on the third floor, so he, Zhou Yu, and Zhao Yun went up the stairs. 301, Sun Sa said. "How about you guys?" Zhao Yun replied, "We're 316. One was on the easternmost side while the other was on the westernmost, this put them at the opposite furthest ends of the corridor." Zhou Yu. Let's stay here," Sun Sa said. "Stop dawdling." The two of them pushed the door open and went in. The room, in contrast, was kept very clean but there was only one bed. Zhou Yu also couldn't be bothered to have their room changed. He was completely exhausted and thus, he collapsed onto the bed. Lu Bu! Zhao Yun shouted in the hallway. Sun Sa suddenly remembered, that's right. Where's Lu Bu? He went to park the car, where'd he go off to? Lu Bu! Where's Lu Bu? I don't know. Didn't he go to park the car? Sun Sa and Zhao Yun exchanged glances. Zhou Yu immediately went downstairs, peering out from the railings on the second floor, only to see that the car was parked outside the courtyard but Lu Bu had disappeared without a trace. Lu Bu! Zhao Yun roared. I'm here. Lu Bu's voice was very quiet. Zhao Yun immediately let out a breath of relief at that, while Sun Sa asked, where are you? Suddenly, Lu Bu no longer answered. In that moment, goosebumps rose all over Zhou Yu's body and a chill crept up his spine. Instantly, Lu Bu let out a loud shout at the foot of the staircase and there was the sound of some blunt object hitting a skull. Zhao Yun rushed down the stairs. Where are you? The three of them gathered in the atrium, their backs pressed against each other's, as they looked around them. But the only reply they got was the rasping of the falling snow. Zhou Yu gestured that they should stay quiet. A series of quick footsteps came from the backyard and the three of them all thought at the same time of the dismembered bodies that had been found in mountain villages. Zhao Yun was on high alert. He picked up a shovel and charged into the backyard. Zhao Yun, where are you all? Lu Bu's voice was very weak and right after came the sound of a metal object dragging along the floor. The three-story building was pitch black. Zhao Yun lifted a lamp, shining it around them. The corner of the wall turned a cold, flat white under that light. Sun Sa suddenly screamed. Lu Bu! Lu Bu rushed out of a room to the side, scared out of his wits and there was another loud scream. The four of them fell over themselves in their panic. Zhou Yu shouted, calm yourselves. I, Lu Bu said, gasping for breath, are you all right? You're not hurt? Zhou Yu asked. I accidentally knocked into a bucket, Lu Bu said. In that corridor right over there. Zhou Yu. Zhao Yun asked, why was your voice sometimes loud and sometimes soft? I don't know, Lu Bu bristled. Zhou Yu walked into the corridor to test something. He shouted, Lu Bu. The echo, Lu Bu. Lu Bu. Lu Bu. Zhou Yu had Sun Sa stand outside to listen, and as expected, he couldn't hear it. The acoustics of the corridor had been done too well. When Lu Bu had stuck his head just now and shouted, they had heard him but when he shouted again in the corridor, his voice had grown quiet again. It had been a false alarm. Everyone had almost been frightened to death by Lu Bu, so they each took turns scolding him. Lu Bu hung his head, not daring to speak even a single word of protest. It was right then that Sun Sa suddenly noticed someone standing at the corner of the staircase, and he screamed again out of fright. I've really had enough. Zhou Yu said. Can you stop screaming at the sight of your own shadow? Trembling, Sun Sa pointed at the corner. When Zhou Yu saw that it was that old man, he was also pretty badly frightened. What were you shouting so loudly for? The old man asked. No, nothing, Zhao Yun replied, his head in his hands. Is there anything to eat? Sun Sa calmed. I'll look for something, the old man said. Come down in a bit. They each went to their own rooms. When they looked at the time, it was 9 o'clock. Lu Bu asked at the end of the hallway, can we not stay here any longer? No way. Zhao Yun grabbed Lu Bu and threw him into the room. It was finally starting to get warm in their rooms, and Sun Sa looked out from the floor-to-ceiling windows, saying, this farm stay is pretty well renovated. What is that old man doing? Zhou Yu snuck a glance, only to see that the old man was firing up the furnace and turning on the lights to the dining room. Half an hour later, Lu Bu came over to knock on their door, saying, he told us over the phone that we could go eat. The four of them went to the dining room, which was lit with warm lights. There was a tablecloth spread over one table. Laid on top of it were 4 dishes. There was soup even. The rice cooker was filled with rice. The 4 of them sat down to eat as if they had been pardoned of all their crimes. Lu Bu saw that there was even beer in the cupboard, so he opened a bottle. This is probably a ski lodge that was just recently renovated, Zhao Yun said. I saw that there was a warehouse behind the boiler room, and there were skis stored in there, several pairs of them. Lu Bu reached his chopsticks out to pick up some food and he remarked, they couldn't have been left behind by the last customers who stayed here, could they? Everyone. Lu Bu immediately said, I'll stop talking. This food tastes pretty good, Zhou Yu said. Better than the school cafeteria. Sun Sa asked, why don't you all guess, what kind of meat could this be? Everyone finally gave in and they all roared angrily at Sun Sa, can you shut up? Sun Sa had no choice but to automatically shut up and keep eating. He thought to himself, I was just actually curious about what kind of meat this is. Halfway through their meal, the lights in the dining room began to flicker wildly. A little bit of wind blew in from the cracks around the door, and the lights swayed as they flickered. Everyone's movements froze and they looked up at the hanging lights. 3 seconds later, the lights went out, and the world went dark. A power outage? Zhao Yun asked. Suddenly, a sudden caw came from the dining table. Right after that, Sun Sa let out a pained, muffled grunt. Zhou Yu immediately shouted, Sun Sa. An odd noise issued forth from Sun Sa's throat, and Lu Bu immediately rose, knocking over his chair. Zhao Yun roared, calm down. Lu Bu held up a light and shone it on Sun Sa's face, only to see that his expression was twisted into a grimace, and he was so frightened that he let out a wild shout. Zhou Yu said, he's choking. He's just choking. Lu Bu. A minute later, Zhao Yun found some candles in a drawer and lit them up. Sun Sa managed to gulp down some water and swallow the rice in his throat, and he chuckled. Zhou Yu was completely speechless. Everyone lit the candles and continued to eat. Sun Sa said, a candlelit dinner isn't bad either. Not bad. The fuck? Zhou Yu roared angrily. The old man came and he said, the power's out. The high voltage cables might have broken under the weight of the snow, so you'll have to make do for now. Therefore, Zhou Yu had no choice but to light some candles in their room that night. Thankfully, the heating was still on. Sun Sa went to take a shower by the candlelight, the hot water was plentiful. However, a moment later, Lu Bu came over to knock on the door, saying, the candles in our room keep going out whenever we light them. What should we do? Zhou Yu. Where's Zhao Yun? Zhou Yu asked. He's showering. Lu Bu's expression was one of horror, yet he was also trying to pretend as if nothing was wrong. You help me go check on him. Don't go. Sun Sa shrieked. Don't leave me all alone in the room. Zhou Yu ignored him, and he went over to take a look, before telling Lu Bu, the wind's coming through a crack between the window and the frame. Oh. Lu Bu moved the candle to another spot, and he lit it. Not long after, Sun Sa came over as well after he finished with his shower. Zhao Yun and Lu Bu's room was a standard room with 2 beds. Sun Sa said, everyone, let's sleep together tonight, so that we aren't separated. That's right, Lu Bu immediately agreed. Zhou Yu didn't know whether to cry or laugh at that. Zhao Yun added, shower in my room. The water's warm. Let's play cards. Sun Sa's feet were bare and he took over one bed, sitting together with Zhou Yu. Lu Bu lay on the other bed, while Zhao Yun sat by the side of the bed, pulling over a chair so that they could play cards. Whoever loses a round has to tell a ghost story, Sun Sa suggested. You can go tell as many as you want. Zhou Yu raged back. Then I'll start, don't go, I won't tell any, I was just joking, okay. Sun Sa said. Why do I feel all chilly? The window won't close tightly. Zhao Yun went over to test it out. The crack between the window and the frame was constantly letting in wind, and the snow outside was falling too heavily. "You're not playing?" Sun Sa asked Zhou Yu. The four men had each taken a shower. Zhou Yu leaned up against the head of the bed, staring at Sun Sa's candlelit side profile, lost in his thoughts. "Talk about your dream," Sun Sa teased Zhou Yu. "What dream?" This was the first time Zhao Yun was hearing of it. Zhou Yu wore a "we're not friends" expression and he replied languidly, "No thanks, I don't want to." Lu Bu asked, "Have you not been sleeping well recently?" Zhou Yu looked at Lu Bu, before suddenly saying, "Did you know? In your last life, you were Sun Sa's Shifu." "Oh." Lu Bu found that very odd. "How's that?" Sun Sa immediately lost it. "Impossible." Zhou Yu began to chuckle as he started to speak of his dream. The blizzard outside slowly died down, turning into a gentle fall of snowflakes as large as goose feathers. Zhao Yun, Sun Sa, and Lu Bu were playing cards as they listened to him talk about his dream. The blue waters of Lake Chao, the same color as the endless sky, the black smoke and beacon fires of Luoyang, the vast armies of Wu Commandery. As they kept listening, the three of them unconsciously stopped what they were doing. The peach blossoms that covered the mountains and the fields during spring, which floated towards the surface of the lake. They spread out along the water along with the ripples, before turning into boats that bobbed along in the middle of the river, in front of Chibi, burning with blazing flames. On this winter night, they seemed to have been brought back by Zhou Yu's words to the distant past. Later, the me in the dream, Zhou Yu said dreamily, was in a hall, waiting for something. That monk handed me 2 talismans and I held them in my hand. And when he got to this point, the room was suddenly filled with light. "Oh," Lu Bu smiled. "The power's back." "The power's back," Zhao Yun said, smiling. "The power's back." Sun Sa seemed to be very interested, and he nudged Zhou Yu. "Keep going." As if he was waking at the end of a dream, Zhou Yu said mildly, "There's nothing more. Speaking of which, that was also weird. The people who appeared in the dreams had your faces." "You're joking, right?" Zhao Yun said. "It's impossible. You knew me when you were 6. Lu Bu shuffled the cards and said, it was what he owed you from his last life. Zhou Yu had no way to explain it either and he simply smiled. Their surroundings were filled with light. As soon as the power had returned, the lodge had grown much warmer. "Go back and sleep," Sun Sa said, before he picked Zhou Yu up in a horizontal carry and went back to their room. On the morning of the next day, Zhou Yu was shaken away by Sun Sa. Sunlight shone through the windows, and outside was a completely fresh, new world of snow and ice. A light snow was still falling from the sky outside, but the ski lodge was no longer enveloped in the atmosphere of horror that it had last night. Sun Sa said, "Look." Behind the lodge was actually the holiday village that Lu Bu and Sun Sa had made reservations at. There were even ski slopes in the distance, and the ski lifts went up and down. Zhou Yu was torn between laughter and tears. They had, in fact, already arrived but they had simply come from the wrong direction. "Hey!" Lu Bu shouted at them from down below. "If you head up from the backyard, there's a hot spring. We're going skiing first." Sun Sa shouted back in reply, before he and Zhou Yu went downstairs to soak in the hot spring. The flurries of snow that filled the sky melted in this open-air hot spring. They landed on Sun Sa's short hair, where they crusted over into ice. "Hey," Sun Sa said, squatting in the hot spring, watching Zhou Yu. "Do you remember, from last night?" "What?" Zhou Yu asked, finding this question very out of the blue. "They said that I owed you in my last life," Sun Sa said. "Zhou Yu." Sun Sa continued, "I have something I want to say as well. I've wanted to say it since the day you came to the dorm." "What?" Zhou Yu asked again. Sun Sa said, I also had a dream before. Zhou Yu froze. Sun Sa looked at Zhou Yu, and he began to smile as he said, when I was small, there was a kid who kicked me into the water. Snowflakes danced through the air, sweeping outwards from the sides of the hot springs, scattering towards the vast lands beyond. To one side of the pine grove came Zhou Yu's voice. So what? No, I didn't mean that. Hey! Monkey! Stop that! End chapter.